Hey, Las Vegas Smug. I hope you are well and enjoying your evening so far. I'm Rocky Bowles. I'm the Director of Community Development for SMUG. So thank you so much for participating in this exciting event with Scheme Events and Two Bright Lights. Yasmin, can you introduce? Yasmin is the SMUG leader for Las Vegas, so I just wanted her to introduce the group at Scheme.
Hi everyone, I'm Yasmin. I'm one of the co-leaders for the Las Vegas SMUG group. Our other co-leader is Adam Silversmith, but we are coming today from the Scheme Events office. We have three lovely ladies of part of Scheme. You guys want to come up and say hi?
Hi, I'm Marissa Gunderson, one of the owners. I'm Tara. I'm Tracy.
And SchemeEvents.com and you guys' Twitter handle?
It's Scheme Events. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, all of the same. Scheme Events. We do local and destination weddings here in Las Vegas, and we're very excited to host and welcome all of you.
Yay! Yay! So they have a beautiful, beautiful office here, and unfortunately we can't show you, but they have a view of the whole strip from their front door. So it's absolutely beautiful, and we're very thankful that they're hosting us tonight. So we're good to go.
Yes, thank you so much. And I would like to introduce you to Shalyn Kettering. She is the VP of Marketing for Two Bright Lights. She's going to be talking to you all about getting your work in the hands of publishers, how this can mean more business for you, as well as how Two Bright Lights works with SMUG. For those of you that are new to the group, SMUG is an all-in-one solution for your business. In just a few short hours, you can create a beautiful website, store unlimited numbers of images, create stunning galleries to show off your best work to clients, and make money by using all of our e-commerce features. Plus, you get seamless integration with the top labs in the industry. So let's get started. We'll take your questions off of Google Plus or off of the YouTube channel, so feel free to post away, and we'll let Shalyn take it away.
Well, thanks so much, Rocky, and nice to meet you guys. I'm not sure if I can hear you or not, but I'm thrilled to be part of your SMUG, and thank you so much for including me. So what I was going to actually, because I figure it might get a little boring to look at my face for the next couple minutes, so I've put together a presentation, so I'm going to switch over to that in a minute, but just to give you a little background, my name is Shalyn Kettering. I do run marketing at Two Bright Lights. I've been around for a couple years. So in a nutshell, for those of you who might not know what Two Bright Lights is, it's an image sharing and submission service that allows you as photographers to upload images and share with vendors, and then photographers and vendors can submit the albums and images to blogs and magazines. We have over 400 blogs and magazines who are our partners that you can submit to, and today it sounds like you guys are all focused in the wedding industry, so I'm going to sort of gear my talk more towards the wedding industry in particular. That is where Two Bright Lights started. We have since expanded into lifestyle, so portraits, travel, fashion, babies. But today I'm just going to focus more on weddings, and I'm excited to field some of your guys' questions, and I hope this presentation is helpful. So I'm going to switch on over to this PowerPoint. This is a little technology trick I'm not totally convinced is going to work. So just let's see if this works. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Start screen share. Okay, I hope this works. Rocky, are we good?
Yep, so far.
Okay.
Can you make it a full screen?
Oh, it tells me it's a full screen. Does it not look that way to you?
It doesn't, but that's okay. Don't worry about it.
Okay, let me try it one more time. How about now?
Nope, it's the same.
Nope. All right. Okay.
That's okay. We can see it.
Bigger. Sorry, guys. It tells me I'm in presentation mode, so I apologize if it looks a little funky. Okay, I'll try to make it a little bit bigger. Well, that's the best I can do. Okay. So what I wanted to focus on today is what it takes to get published. And we here at Two Bright Lights love our numbers and are a little dorky sometimes. So I've put together, we did a really big comprehensive wedding market research that I was going to share with you specifically about why getting published helps your business. So let's take a couple steps back. I'm sure all of you already know this, but just in case you don't, what does getting published mean? So for the wedding industry, it means a real wedding feature. That can mean a blog or a magazine. And a real wedding feature is relevant to photographers and vendors because it's the way that you get to showcase your work, and it means someone else is showcasing your work on your behalf by showing your images and then crediting you and linking back to your website at the end of the feature. And from a blog perspective, that's awesome for a variety of reasons, which we'll go over for things like SEO. And if it's in a magazine, you know, that's where a lot of brides are looking to find you. So that's sort of what a real wedding feature is. It's a collection of images from your event. The editor curates those images, and they pick the 10 to 20 images that they think are going to most inspire their bride readers. So real wedding features really are correlated with new business. And so here's why. So a little bit of background on why. The publishing community has experienced this really tremendous growth in the past 8 years. In fact, there's been an 881% increase in the number of total wedding publications, which is enormous. And of course, that has very much paralleled the rise of the internet. But it's pretty staggering just to think about 8 years ago. There were so few wedding publications in comparison to now. So that means there's a lot of blogs and magazines out there who are looking for your content. But interestingly, it's been both the print and digital that have driven this growth. There's been obviously a larger increase in the number of blogs and e-zines, but there's actually been a slight increase in the number of print publications as well. And part of the reason for that is sort of the appetite of the modern bride has changed, and what they expect and are looking for as they plan their weddings is a lot of inspiration. So there is an increasing number of blogs and magazines, and the trends really indicate that will continue. So there's all these blogs and magazines. They publish increasingly as their life cycle continues, but 81% of couples want to see more real wedding features. So even though there's a ton of blogs and there's a ton of real wedding features coming out every day, brides are still not satisfied. What that means for you is there's this enormous demand for your beautiful image submissions, both because the blogs are trying to satisfy the voracious appetite of brides, and brides are really looking for new, fresh ideas. So if you're ever worried, like, oh my gosh, there's so much else out there, does anyone really want to see my work? And the answer is undeniably, they absolutely do. And then on top of that, excuse me, I'm a little sick, so if my voice gets suddenly raspy, you'll have to excuse me. And the other interesting statistic is that as publications mature, they generate even more content. So in year one, they're publishing on average about one real wedding a week, and sometimes a little bit more, one to one a week, once every day. But by year 4, they're posting up to 3, the average is 2.75, but between 3 and 5 real weddings per day. So that means as these trends if we've seen this explosion in the number of publications, that means the number of real wedding features is just growing astronomically every year. So with the more blogs and more magazines out there, that means there's this increasing opportunity for exposure for you. These new publications want your content as they're growing, but older publications want your content as well as they're publishing more frequently. And so that really means there is, like I said, this huge demand for your work. Publications want to publish images that you've worked on and turn those into real wedding features. So that's all well and good, but why does that matter for you? How does that help your business? Well, it's because this is where brides are turning to find you. In fact, 40% of couples found one or more of their wedding vendors through a blog or website editorial feature. That means they went to, let's say they went to Green Wedding Shoes, they looked at a real wedding feature and said, I love those images. Who's that photographer? They looked at who that photographer was, they clicked on that link, and they booked that photographer. Same goes for a venue or a florist or an event planner. And this number has risen every year. So we expect that more and more brides are going to be looking for you this way. That means getting published is really a marketing strategy. It's a way to increase the exposure of your business and get your work out in front of brides. And in fact, if this is how brides are looking for you and you don't have real wedding features, it's really going to be a missed opportunity. And getting published is really, we like to say it's a gift that keeps on giving. This is particularly the case with blogs because you're, of course, getting the exposure where brides are looking for you, and it's a marketing opportunity, but it's also really helpful for your traditional search, visual search, and your revenue. So to talk a little bit about each of those. For your traditional search, every time, I'm sure most of you understand sort of the basics of SEO, but the more people that are linking to your website, the higher your website is going to return in search results that you're optimized for. So every time you get featured, you're getting a link back to your website, which is really awesome for SEO. It's also really great for visual search. So when, I don't know how many of you want to Google your business name and click on Google Images and see, are your images of your work popping up on Google image search? And getting in real wedding features is a really awesome way to help get those Google image search results to really be filled with your beautiful and curated work. There's also sort of a digital multiplier effect. So as you get published, those images get repinned. Let's just talk about Pinterest, for example. Then the bride and groom is browsing Pinterest. They find you, and that's driving web traffic back to you, and of course, driving bookings. The same goes for Facebook and Twitter. So getting featured online particularly is really powerful for that digital multiplier effect. Now, it is a little bit different about getting published in print magazines, as this isn't so much the case, but by and large, print magazines are really incredible from a branding perspective, that being able to look to a client and say, I've been published in Inside Weddings, I've been published in Southern Weddings, really matters a lot for us. It's a stamp of credibility. The same goes for blogs as well, but there's something really special about print and getting to take out those images and put those on your wall and say, awesome, look at my beautiful picture in a magazine. Now, so it's really great, like we said, from a branding perspective, a marketing perspective, but it really is correlated with revenue. In fact, we found that real wedding features, for those who submit to blogs and magazines, for photographers, are making 73% more in revenue per year, which is a huge figure. The same goes with vendors, so on average it's 56%. So you really are making more money. It really does drive more money to your business. And that's across the board. It's really particularly the case with photographers. But there's a lot of people, professionals, who aren't submitting, even though there's a huge demand, it's correlated with increased revenue, it's an awesome way to market, but not as many people are doing it. So this is also an opportunity to have your competitive advantage, and that you're one of the professionals that are submitting and getting your work in front of brides. So there's a huge demand and a lack of supply. So opportunity really is a knock-in, and it's waiting for you to submit. So how do you get a piece of the pie? We like to think that it's actually quite easy, and there's a couple ways to do it, but I'm going to talk about how using Two Bright Lights can really make this published, demystify the publication process, and make it a little bit easier. So Two Bright Lights, I'm just going to walk you through sort of at a high level how it works, and why it makes the getting published process a little easier. So if you're a photographer, you start by the building block of Two Bright Lights as an album. So you get to upload a selection of images from an event. And this is where our awesome plugin with SMUG comes in handy. So if you've already uploaded your images to SMUG, when you're ready to upload an album on Two Bright Lights, you can actually just import all of your images from SMUG. You just log in, you say import from SMUG, you pick the selection of images you want, and it pulls it straight into Two Bright Lights. So you really only have to do uploading once if you already have your images on SMUG. So you upload the selection of images, and then you select who you want to grant access to the images to. So Two Bright Lights is, and along with a submission platform, is a sharing platform to share with the other creative industry professionals that you're working with. So if it's a wedding, this is how you can distribute your images to the florist, the event planner, the venue. So you just easily add all of those vendors, and they're able to self-serve which images work best for them. And then you'll have the option to notify them if you would like to share. So you share your images, and then the vendors are able to easily log into Two Bright Lights, where it aggregates all the images from all the events and all the photographers you've worked with. So if I was an event planner, I could log into Two Bright Lights and see a large selection of events and albums, and I could pick which images work best for me, download those images, or use those in marketing materials. But then, so once you've uploaded images, or if you're a vendor, you've accessed the images photographers have shared with you, this is where the submission process kicks in. So the first step on Two Bright Lights is you pick which album you want published, and then you pick the publications you want to submit that album to. And you can submit to one editor at a time, you can submit to multiple editors at a time. The whole submission process takes less than 5 minutes. You just create the album, select the publishers, add some information, you send it off. So gone are the days of really having to, resize your images for each editor, or create, you know, the perfect submission that's customized. So we've made that process streamlined for you. We do resize all the images to meet the editor's specifications and make sure all their requirements are met. So it's really a matter for you of just picking where you want to get published. Then the editors are able to review the submissions online, and you'll be able to track the status of the submission, and you'll be contacted when they change the status. So if they accept it, you'll be contacted. When they publish it, you'll be contacted. If they mark it not a fit, you'll be contacted with an explanation as to why it was not a fit, and we try to make this process as transparent and simple as possible. And then if the submission is for any reason not accepted, you can just resubmit it to another publication. That's actually just a one-click process. You click resubmit, you pick a different editor, and all the submission and all the information that goes along with it is just sent somewhere else. And on To Write Lights, you are able to add a cover letter, add details of the day, and add a bunch of things that makes your images and submission even more compelling. So thought I'd spend a little bit of time. So that's how it works. But there's a couple of, I wanted to give you some tips and tricks and perspectives on what makes a great submission. The first thing, oh dear, there's an extra X. Well, good thing I'm in, there you go, all gone. So there's a couple of decisions you have to think about when you're making a submission. The first one is, do you want to submit to a blog or print magazine, which we talked about a little earlier. The second decision you have to make is, do you submit to an exclusive or a non-exclusive publication? So an exclusive publication means they're only willing to publish content that has never been published before and does not have any other submissions outstanding. So examples of that would be brides, would be green wedding shoes. They tend to be the bigger publications, lower acceptance rates. And once you get featured in one exclusive publication, you cannot be featured in another. Then we have non-exclusive publications, which are publications that are willing to accept content that has been featured before or is submitted somewhere else. And actually in To Write Lights, you can submit to batches of non-exclusive editors at one time. We suggest that you don't submit to more than 5 to 7 at once, because non-exclusive editors do want to know that you in fact want to be on their blog, not just any blog. But there's a lot of amazing publications that are non-exclusive. Wedding Wire is an example. Wedding Channel, which is owned by The Knot, is also non-exclusive. So there's a lot of wonderful opportunities within that bucket as well. The next thing you need to do is really decide what publication is right for you, which can feel really overwhelming given the huge number of publications that exist. So To Write Lights has a variety of tools to help you find that right publication. Every publication on To Write Lights has a bio profile. So that's basically like you could think of it as a resume or a cover letter for an editor. They'll tell you, I guess it doesn't really make sense. It's just their profile. It's where they're putting what they're looking for, what their requirements are, what sort of submissions they like to accept. So you're able to access all that information easily. You can also, all of them put out editorial requests, so you can see specifically what different publications are looking for. And then there's a bunch of filtering tools that allows you to filter the publications by region, by focus, by style, by exclusivity, to really make it simpler for you to find the right publication. So those are sort of your key decision criteria that you need to make before you make a decision on who to submit to. So I think I was going to pause there, and I think Rocky had a series of questions that we can get over about that process. So that's my little presentation for now. I hope that was helpful, and I'm looking forward to hearing some of your guys' questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Shalyn. I appreciate this. Yasmin, do you have any questions from your audience first, or? Because we've got a couple from the chat.
Absolutely. Go for it.
So just hold your.
Yeah.
Okay. I just have a quick question, and I understood you were saying that it's a very streamlined process where you don't have to resize for each specific publisher or anything. But what would be the requirements? How would we upload those pictures? What type of file size? And is there a number of pictures that they're kind of looking for to make their own selection?
That's an awesome question. So there's a couple things. So actually what we do in To Write Lights is you can upload any file size, and we'll resize it for the editors. So you can just upload whatever file size you have for your image. We do suggest you upload high resolution images, as we obviously can't make a higher resolution image to guarantee that your image is going to look beautiful. You can upload 150 images onto Bright Lights. We recognize you're going to take way more images at a wedding. So it's really about picking those 150 images that really best capture the essence of that wedding and are most editorial worthy. And I actually have this image composition guide that, sorry, I have to move my computer quickly. Sorry. I have an image composition guide that sort of goes over what exactly those images that editors want to see. Rocky, if you thought this was a good time for me to show that.
Yes, because that was one of the questions that we received is what sort of images should a photographer include in a real wedding submission, or what type should they not include?
Okay, that's such a good question. Again, I think we might have a little bit of a screen sharing problem because I don't think my view is going to necessarily work, but we can try. Let me show you guys. Let me try my little screen share thing. Oh dear. Can you see that? Is that working? Nope.
Not yet.
You still just see me. All right.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I don't Google Plus. Come on here. Well, I'm clicking the screen share button, and unfortunately, nothing's happened. Okay. I can email out this PDF that I have that walks you through exactly with those images, but I can also kind of verbally explain it as well. So basically, when you think about what images to upload for an event, you want to think, my general rule of thumb is think about your vendor list. You want to make sure that it's a really detail-heavy 150 images, and make sure there's images for each vendor. The reason why is that that's really what editors want to see. It's about inspiring the bride or inspiring the groom in the real wedding picture, and as much as beautiful images of the couple are really inspirational, it's really about how can I, as a bride who's reading this blog, recreate that wedding. So editors want to see the details of the tablescape, the bouquet, the boutonnieres. They want to see the reception venue. They want to see the details of the dress. They want to see the headpiece. They want to see the jewelry. And they want vendor credit. So if you think through who are all the people who went into putting that wedding, there really needs to be an image at least for every single one of them. I'm going to focus on detail shots. And I'll send out this image composition guide that actually goes image by image through what editors are looking for in the wedding space. But the general rule of thumb is think about details, go through your vendor list, and pick the images that really you love the most, because you guys are professionals and you know what's good. So use your intuition there as well. So that's, in a nutshell, I'd say what editors are looking for.
And if you don't mind, Shalyn, we can put the PDF up on the Las Vegas group's Facebook page.
Sure, definitely.
So that way that'll get to everybody all at once, and they'll be easy for them to be able to find it. So if you can send that to me, that would be fantastic, and I'll post it tomorrow for everyone that's here. So.
Absolutely.
Great.
We love that.
Yeah, we have one more question.
Sure.
Juliana was asking if there's any room for boudoir blogs or bachelorette parties.
Yes, it's interesting you say that, because I've noticed recently we've had a lot of applications for boudoir-focused blogs. So we actually have quite a few on Two Bright Lights. They do look for boudoir photography, and actually quite a few wedding blogs are open to that as well. If you guys are Two Bright Lights members, that's actually a category on Two Bright Lights, so you can choose that filter and see specifically which editor is looking for that. And we actually have an editor that's totally focused and exclusively focused on bridal shower and the pre-wedding events as well, bachelorette parties. So there are editors who would love to see those images.
Great. Any other questions?
So Shalyn, this leads into the next question that we have for you. It was, do you just feature weddings, which you just said no, or are there other types that you feature beyond just bridals type things?
Yes. So we of our 400 publications, I'd say about 70% of them are wedding or wedding related focus. That means engagement shoots, wedding showers, things like that. But of the rest of those publications, I'd say the biggest chunk of them are in the lifestyle space. So they're looking for children's photography, family photography, senior photography, a couple of travel publications, some fashion publications as well. And that's actually our fastest growing segment. Onto Bright Lights is sort of the non-wedding publications as well. And we recognize that a lot of photographers do a lot of different sorts of photography. So it is about just uploading it to Two Bright Lights, and the more submissions the editors get, the more we're able to bring on. So.
Great. So if you say no to a submission, should the photographer try to submit a different wedding to you or a different type of photography or something, or should they just, we don't want to tell them to stop, right?
Yeah.
So don't take no for an answer.
It's such a great point. So a couple of things. A lot of times an editor is going to say no, not necessarily because they don't like your work or they don't think it's good, but because it doesn't really fit their editorial calendar at that time. So all editors are going to give you feedback if they're going to use Two Bright Lights by and large as to why it wasn't a fit. And a lot of times no doesn't mean never submit to me again. It just means right now it's not the right time. But do take into their feedback into consideration, because some editors are saying, you know what, like this is completely the wrong style. And make sure you do your homework. I can't tell you how many submissions I see that Southern Weddings is getting from Oregon. They're like, no, we are only doing Southern weddings, So just make sure that, like, if you're getting not a fit, that you're understanding why. And think about, whether if you're noticing you're not getting featured on any of the exclusive blogs, like give non-exclusive blogs a chance. We've never had a photographer in Two Bright Lights who's submitted and then never gotten published anywhere. So it's just about finding the right publication for you. We can really guarantee there is a publication who wants to feature your work. It's just about finding the right one.
Okay, we have another question.
Yes.
Okay, so it's me again. Just another question is related to if you submit to an exclusive blog or publication, and how long should you wait? Is there an average time that they will tell you no, thank you, or how does that work?
That's a great question. It's a tough question actually, because every editor really is different. We do have an average response time report on Two Bright Lights that you can use as a reference. Some editors take a really long time to get back to you, to be honest, and that's because they wait until they have a lot of submissions to review, and then they'll review them all at once, versus some editors are constantly looking at their submissions. So some of it's a personal preference. Like I usually tell photographers, pick how long you want to wait. Because what you can do on Two Bright Lights is anytime something's submitted to an exclusive publication, you can resubmit it somewhere else. You can basically withdraw that submission and send it elsewhere. So pick how long you want to wait, because you might say, I'd like to get a feature soon and I don't want to sit and wait for 3 months. And we also suggest that you reach out to the editors themselves to check in. So if you send a submission and say, I'm super excited about getting an opportunity to submit to you, would love to get a sense about how long, I might expect to wait. Because it is a little bit of there is unfortunately not a clear answer to that question.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Sure.
Okay, Yasmin, did you have any other questions?
We do. We have a few
Great.
more.
Okay, perfect.
Hi, my name is Joan. I was wondering, does it help if you've been published in other publications? How would you use that to, communicate that information to the editor in submitting along with your submission?
Great, that's a great question. So for every submission you make on Two Bright Lights, there's an open text section. So you can, if you've been published apart from Two Bright Lights, we do ask that you put in there, this has actually been featured on X or Y publication. Now,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
no,
didn't mean that specific event. Let's say I've had another wedding published in an exclusive publication. I mean,
okay.
So I'm not resubmitting,
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, I mean, that's up to you. I'd say in general, most of the editors are going to be making their opinions based on their analysis of the wedding, so it's not necessarily information you need to include. You can if you'd like to. I'd say from a sort of industry standard perspective, that's not information they would expect to see. You definitely could include it, though, if you'd like.
So it's really about the content. It really doesn't matter if you've been published before. Okay.
No, because they're going to equally publish you if you've never been published before and they love your work. And if they
Okay.
don't like your work and you've been published a bunch, they're probably not going to feature it.
Okay.
So it's definitely, I think, I think it would be much better to focus on the event itself. So what we suggest in that open text section is write about the day, write about any details that you thought were really special, what it was like for you to photograph the event, anything to contextualize your image. That's what really makes a big difference to the editor.
Okay. Can I ask for clarification on one more subject?
Sure.
About the sharing. It seemed like the submission process and the sharing process was sort of combined. I was a little confused about that. Like, who are we sharing with? Are we sharing with the vendors that participated in the event with us exclusively, or do other people have access? You were saying that vendors could download these images, use them to, promote their work, or use them for their own purposes.
That's a great question. No, that's a great. I definitely did not go into the specifics of that, so I'm glad you brought it up. So the way they're actually two separate parts of Two Bright Lights. I did sort of put them all together in a story. So the first part is you upload an album, and then you have complete control over who has access to your images. So there's no sort of you upload it and anybody can see it. So we suggest that you add all the vendors who are on that event because we believe that sharing really is a crucial part of growing your business. But you, of course, have the option to not add those vendors and not share if you don't want to. But if the other benefit of adding vendors is that editors are able to see who else to give credit to on that submission. So they're able to see everything if you choose to submit to them, they're able to see all the vendor list information and any other information you've chosen to include for that submission. So that's sort of and a couple points on sharing. As a photographer, when you share with a vendor and the vendor downloads the images, a watermark is actually automatically added to all of those images that has your website on it. So in order to protect your copyright. But we do ask, because of that you upload non-watermarked images when you do upload them, because otherwise they're going to get double watermarked and really not be that helpful to the vendors. So, and editors by and large don't like watermarked images and they won't publish them anyway. So, did that answer your question?
Very helpful. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
We have a couple more questions, Julia.
Hello, Shalyn. Hi. I have another question.
It's fun to get to see you guys, even though we're like,
I know. I want to hug everyone.
I know. It's so cool. Love technology.
So I have another question.
Yes.
And my question is. No, I remember. Okay. So when I submit my pictures, when I'm ready to submit my pictures, do you suggest, or is that an option, to write a little article about my work?
Yes, and we definitely, editors really, really prefer that. If there's anything that causes editors to mark things not a fit, it's when photographers don't do that. So I'm really glad you brought that up. So you have two options to do that on Two Bright Lights. One is you can add an album story, which I was mentioning earlier. So that's where you can put in what your experience was with those images, and then you actually also have an opportunity to write a cover letter on a submission. So one is the album story. The second is if you would like to say something specific about your style of photography, why you think it's a really great fit for a certain editor, why in particular you would like to be featured on that blog. So that's really your chance to write a note to the editor that goes along with the submission.
And my second question is, so I send, let's say, for 5 different magazines, and I send a cover letter with my article, and they all like it. And they want to use the article or something very similar. How do I do that in order to not get like 5 people talking about my photography at the same time with the same article?
Well, so that's a good question. It sort of depends how you choose to submit, right? So if it's just if you submit to 5, that means that you're submitting to 5 non-exclusives at one time. They're able to see who else you've submitted to, so it's they're able to see that list. But it's very possible that you would get accepted and published by all those publications. So, and that's okay. They recognize that they've chosen to be a non-exclusive editor, so they've chosen to say, I'm okay that the images that I'm going to publish might show up somewhere else. And they're probably not going to take your cover letter and use that as the content. They'll probably write their own content, so each feature is going to be unique. But that's okay. That it might be, as long as it's okay with you, that it's going to hopefully, that, I mean, that's great for you if it shows up.
Okay with that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Sure, great question.
One more question.
Hi, I'm Allison. So my question is, I have a blog that I usually like do a little sneak peek, or I'll blog images. I just shot a wedding last weekend that I want to try to get published, and I haven't blogged it yet because my friend was like, don't blog, get published first. So is that true? Is she right? I told her she was crazy, but I haven't blogged them. So is it true? Would they prefer it not to be snuck out blog?
All the editors on Two Bright Lights, we have sort of a rule that says, like, the photographer has the right to publish those images on their blog or Facebook. They're your images. The vendors can put them on their blogs, and the editors understand that that happens and that, like, that's a different deal. If you had submitted it to another publication, that would be different. But if it's on your blog, it's not a problem. The only publication I've ever heard that says that is Martha Stewart Weddings magazine. So as long as you're not submitting to Martha Stewart Weddings magazine, you should be okay.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? I think we're good. If you have another topic you want to move on to.
I just have one more question for you, Shalyn.
Yeah.
And it's, every time I smile, my earbuds pop out.
No smiling, not
That's right, I know, I'm trying not to. What can someone do to increase their chances of getting accepted by a blog or a magazine? Is there anything that somebody could do to make it easier or better for them or increase their chances?
Yes. So actually, this is perfect. I just pulled up my top 5 submission tips. These are sort of the 5 things that I say are gonna, if you want to get published, these are the 5 things to keep in mind. So number 1 is that it's all about the details. So if you want to get published, upload 150 predominantly detailed shots. Give the editors a lot to choose from. And when you do upload those images, pick a good distribution of horizontal and vertical images, because every editor has different layout preferences. So, and if there was a really fantastic cake, make sure to include a vertical and a horizontal of that cake, because a lot of times editors are like, gosh, I love that picture, it just doesn't fit out in my layout. So think through that well and think about, if I were creating a perfect magazine article, what would it look like, and make sure you give them a good assortment to choose from. The second is to really share all the love and add all the vendors. A lot of times what I hear from editors is, I love this wedding, but there was no vendors listed, and they often feel really uncomfortable if they're not giving credit where they believe credit is due. So make their lives easier and add the vendors to the submissions. Otherwise, they're going to come back to you and say, hey, can you send me the vendor list? And actually on Two Bright Lights, you can ask your client to add the vendors to Two Bright Lights. They don't have to sign up or join. It's actually just a link that they can input all the vendor info. So make sure to get that full list from them. Number 3 is to write in the details of the day. So for that, it is kind of what we talked about. There's that album story section and cover letter. Put in as much detail as you can about what that day was like. You know, if the bride was wearing a vintage gown made from the lace of her grandma's dress or something, like, make sure to include that, because that's what really sells your images. And editors are often going to come back and ask, might have a questionnaire for the bride. But if you include some of those little teasers, that's really going to set your images apart, because editors are often going through a lot of content, and it's that story that contextualizes the images that really help your images stand out. Number 4 is really do your homework on the editors. Every editor really does have a different feel, so spend some time on their site. Recognize what is the difference between ruffled and a 100-layer cake. What is their aesthetic? Make sure you look at, are they regional? Are they DIY? Are they budget conscious? Are they eco-friendly? And really pick your publications and do your homework. It's worth the time, because otherwise you're going to go create a submission, it's going to be not a fit, and it's going to take some time to find the right one for you. Number 5 is to really submit strategically. So it's really tempting sometimes to just pick 10 editors and just send an album. But what I think the optimal situation is, you start with an exclusive editor, submit, because you can never go backwards. You can never submit to non-exclusives and then go to exclusives. So submit to your very top choice exclusive editor, wait to hear back, get some feedback if it's not a fit, and then submit to your top 3 to 5 non-exclusive editors. Get published on those, get the word out, and then add a couple more editors until you've extended the life. In many cases, you can get a wedding published, 10 times. That's probably the highest end. But that really requires some spacing, some strategy. The editors know each other, and they tend to keep an eye out for each other. So they might say, I'm willing to publish that because I know they have a totally different style. So pick an assortment that don't seem like they're probably totally competitive with one another. So thinking strategically about that is important. And I know I know I said 5, but I kind of have one more. The last one is to pick your cover image well. So if you do submit on Two Bright Lights, you get to pick your what's called key image, and that image is really important. I actually know a couple editors who they just see the key image on their first page before they open up your submission, and they'll make decisions based on that key image. So they will mark something not a fit if they don't like the key image. So it's super important. And so my suggestions for picking that image is pick the image that best represents your work and that best represents that wedding. Because if there's little things that kind of will tip an editor to, I don't like it when they do this or that, your best bet is to do that image that really is like a showstopper, or if there was just, like I said, this like unbelievable cake, use that image. Anything that really, what editors want is something unique or something beautiful. So make sure if it's a beautiful wedding, pick your most beautiful image. If it's a unique wedding, pick your most unique image. Anything that's going to really define that submission is the image that you want to pick. So those are my 5-ish submission tips that if you really want to do what's going to make your submission stand out.
Well,
Great.
we have a couple more questions.
Oh, good. Okay, perfect.
One question is, what type of an agreement do the photographers need to have from the clients, the bride and groom, in order to be able to use their images and submit them to these different blogs? That's
such a good point. I mean, I think the layman's way to talk about it is just make sure you have the permission from the bride and groom to submit their images. Make sure the bride and groom are aware that I'm going to put, are you okay if your image shows up in a blog or magazine? And make sure that's clear to them what that means. And also give them a heads up, because in many cases blogs and magazines do reach out to the bride and get more information, and I think brides sometimes get caught off guard. They're like, wait, I'm so confused. What is this about? So we just suggest be super open, be really clear with your clients that this is what you're going to do, and make sure they're okay with it.
Is there anything specific is it okay if it's just a verbal, hey, we might be submitting these to some wedding blogs versus written like in a contract? Is there anything you prefer?
We don't have any sort of particular rule about that. What we just say is make sure your client is comfortable with it, and then it's up to you what that means to you. I think a lot of photographers do include that in their contracts so that they're protected in writing. If anything comes up, they can pull out the contract and say, hey, you said this was okay. And then on top of that, make sure you have a verbal agreement where the bride and groom actually know what that means. So if it were me, I would make sure to have a verbal and written. But we're not going to force you. There's not sort of, if you don't do this, you can't submit. But that would be my suggestion.
Perfect. Okay, one more question.
Hi, my name's Matt.
Hi, Matt.
I know we're talking mostly about photo submissions, but especially with online blogging and even the print magazines, they are heading to options for video. Do you guys have anything along that line?
Great. I'm so glad you brought that up. We kind of do today, but as of Monday, we are going to have a much better solution, so I'll talk about our Monday solution. Two Bright Lights is actually getting a total facelift, so coming on Monday, it's going to look a lot better and a little bit different than it does now. And one of the big benefits is the video. So what we suggest in video, well, to go back, bloggers love video, and we really do suggest that the Vimeo link is included in a submission. So as of Monday, what you can do in Two Bright Lights is make sure you attach the videographer and then include the Vimeo link in the album story section. and just make note of that in your submission, that like this video is also being submitted for feature. And so then the editor can take both into consideration when they're making that submission. And our only caveat is make sure the videographer is comfortable with that, and you have their approval to include the video as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Juliana?
I have a question.
Here, I'll just turn it.
Okay.
I can only turn it so far.
Oh, somebody's gonna come, but I'm gonna say anyway. So, is there like a coupon code for this mug?
Oh, for using SMUG.
No, yes, to get a membership with your
Two Bright Lights.
Two Bright Lights?
Oh, with Two Bright Lights.
Yes, actually, SmugMug has a code. We have this. You could use the SmugMug discount code, which I can look up for you if you give me 2 seconds.
And I'm sorry I didn't have that ready for you. I was going
to.
No, that's a great question.
No, I'm glad you asked.
Yeah, and we didn't plant you, so this is perfect. It's not
Yeah.
like you were a plant in the audience there.
So I get an extra discount.
Yes, I'm looking it up right now.
Okay.
Because
Thank you.
Yasmin, you should have the discount for anyone that isn't involved in SmugMug yet, right? You have a 20% discount code for them.
Right, I've got that.
Okay.
So I can get that to you.
Yes, you can just use SmugMug 2013.
Perfect.
Thank you, Shalyn.
Yeah, no problem. You just enter that in when you're either signing up or when you're upgrading, and you'll get the discount.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Any other questions anyone has? I think we're good.
Oh, this is so great. I'm so happy to see everyone. I cannot tell you how many times I wish I could make it out to Smugs. So this is so great to see everybody, and everyone's all smiling, which is nice. So thank you again for joining us tonight.
Yes,
thanks,
thank you so much.
Yes, thanks, Shalyn, for doing such a great presentation, and for Scheme Events for having everyone out there. And of course, thanks always to Yasmin, because she is a great leader. She really handles the SMUG well, so we appreciate you so much too as well, Yasmin.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's been
Yay!
And thank you guys so much for joining us. I will send out that image composition guide so that you guys can see that as well. But thank you so much for having me. This is so fun for me too, so I hope it was helpful. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to email me. Anything at Two Bright Lights comes to my email address. So you can literally type in like anything at twobrightlights.com and it will come to my email. So so I'd love to hear from you guys if you have questions, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. So thank you so much for having me.
Well, thanks so much. All right, everyone. Thanks again. Have a great night, and I hope that you attend the next SMUG. Yasmin, do you have any information about the SMUG for March? Not to put you on the spot. That's okay.
Well, that's kind of the one we were talking about around WPPI. So we're not officially ready to announce that one yet, but we're working on it.
WPPI is right around the corner. So hopefully we'll see everyone, because that SMUG is going to be huge.
Yeah.
Everyone's invited to that one. So we'll definitely put all the information out for everyone to get the logistics of what's going to happen at that SMUG, and it's going to be great. So thanks again. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, Yasmin.
No, it's fine.
All right, everyone. Have a good night. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.